Hello, everyone. Welcome to something a little different than what I normally have on my channel. If you've been following, obviously, I'm big into tabletop role-playing games as well as like some video game stuff, some wrestling stuff. But my first real obsession, which still sticks with me to this very day, is the Titanic. I've been obsessed with the story of the sinking, the discovery of the wreck, and just like exploring the wreck itself. Like when I was younger, and I was introduced to the Titanic in 1990. So I would have been 6 or 7 years old. I think it was either the first or second grade. It was 89 or 90 when I was first like introduced to the story of the Titanic, because the ship had only been found a few years before that. And I was just obsessed ever since. And unlike a lot of people, just because I'm really bad with like names and remembering faces and stuff like that, I've always been really fascinated by the ship itself, more so than the story of the passengers and things like that. Just because again, I have a really bad time remembering people's names. But this is something that I never thought that I would be able to do or be able to see, is the actual wreck of the ship. Like when I was younger, a lifelong goal would have been to see the wreck of the Titanic, the real wreck of the Titanic, with my own eyes. And obviously that's not feasible, and there's recent stuff that makes it even less likely that it's ever going to happen for a lot of people. But this is the next best thing. So this is vROV Pilot and Titanic here. So this was done by a company called Magellan. And if you've been into shipwrecks or anything like that, or ocean liners, one of the big news stories was from a year or two ago when this company Magellan released their 3D scans of the actual Titanic wreck. And they had like the bow and the stern, but they had this huge watermark on their video, so people couldn't use it or whatever without people knowing where it came from, which I guess is fine. But a lot of us were kind of wondering what they were going to do with that, because what they did is they actually took like hundreds of thousands of images of the wreck site and the debris field, and they did it from all different angles, and they fed it into a computer, and the computers created a 3D model based off of those actual scans. So it's not like it's an artist rendering or like a traditional photo mosaic. Like this is actually the ship from all manner of different angles, all stitched together to create like a truly 3D experience. And a lot of folks like myself were hoping that that would somehow be available to people like me, to be able to sort of interact with. But the prevailing theory was that it was going to be licensed out to documentary crews, to researchers, and that the common everyday person probably wouldn't have access to it until shortly before the holidays. Magellan announced that they were creating this VR, or not VR, but this virtual ROV simulator using those scans. So let's just get into it here. We're going to start with realistic, and we're not going to play the tutorial. We're just going to kind of get into it here. And we're going to go with realistic because the realistic setting, the different settings are essentially, I'm just going to turn the volume down on my headset a little bit here. The settings are not for anything other than the amount of time that you have and the light levels. So this is sort of considered to be like an accurate representation of like what light sources would actually look like down that deep into the ocean. So you don't get super far before like you kind of lose sight of everything here. So we're gonna try to come up on the bow here, and I'm hoping that we'll actually be able to line up with it pretty well. Can kind of get that like touristy shot, right? That shot that you see in all kinds of documentaries and stuff, where the bow section, the bow of the ships just starts to appear, out of the abyss sort of thing. So let's see what we got here. And I can see the angle there on the little sonar image on the bottom right. So we're trying to come up on just like the center of the bow. And we're getting closer. And there we go. I guess I was looking in the wrong direction. Let's just go over this way a little bit. And here we have the bow of the Titanic. And again, what's amazing about this is, again, this is not an artist rendering. It's not somebody's creative, creation, I guess, for lack of better words. This is the actual wreck. Like, this was the actual ship. These are images from the real ship taken at a million different angles to create this 3D image. And we're coming up on the bow here, and it's just, I don't know, I mean, there's just something about this, right? And I know there's been other like VR, simulators where you're in a, submarine or submersible and you can explore like the wreck and you can go inside and do all that stuff. But that's like a 3D model that somebody created themselves. And like, no disrespect, because that's an incredible feat in of itself. But this is the real thing. Like, this is the real ship. And there's just something like the first time I loaded this up and was looking at it, and I was just in awe. It was really hard to sort of describe here. But so this is kind of like the realistic light setting. So again, you don't really get to see much of the ship here, but we're not interested in that because it makes things hard to see. So we're going to go into gameplay, and the realism is going to go from ultra to low. And again, all that does is it increases the ambient light. So now we have something similar to like the Ken Marshall paintings. There's this really, like, when I think of the wreck of the Titanic, there's this one artwork done by Ken where it's like the shipwreck there. You're coming on it from sort of like the starboard side of the ship there, and it just looks regal and majestic, and the ocean floor is this shade of blue, and it's this incredible sight. And that's based off of the photos that he got from Dr. Ballard's expeditions from '85 and '86. But now we've got the actual what the ship looked like in I think this was 2022 or 23. So we got, again, the bow of the ship here. We've got the anchor crane, and like, you can scan, like there's things to scan here to make it sort of a game if you really want, but I'm not really interested in doing that. I'm going to be completely and totally honest. I'm more interested in just looking at the wreck itself here. So let's come across the starboard side here, and let's just see if we can recreate kind of that artwork. You can actually see here. There's a piece of railing that's fallen off of the ship there. So even in 2022, even though the actual piece of railing that everybody's sort of talking about these days was still intact during this expedition, you can see that there were pieces of railing already falling off. But let's just go this way. And I don't think it's going to let us go super far. To be completely and totally fair, I don't think it's going to let us go super far. But if we turn around, okay, we need to be like way out. But again, here's like the bow of the ship. There's the anchor, and again, like from the bottom of the keel, to the top here, I think that was around like 70, 80 feet. And you can see that this anchor that would be way above the water line is just, a few feet above the mud, which is just absolutely Yeah, this video is just going to be me kind of being in awe of this. But I mean, again, like this is absolutely incredible. Like I'm looking at the real wreck of the Titanic, the real bow section. You know, as it was just a couple years ago, and looks like there's some more pieces of railing and stuff there. This image is based off of about 10% of the full resolution that these scans were done. Now I don't know how much more we're going to get in terms of like scan resolution, or in terms of like the resolution of these images, because I think Magellan said they wanted to keep this to like a 30 to 40 gig download. But even at 10%, I mean the level of detail is absolutely just mind-boggling. And again, this is what it really looks like. And what's incredible is again just how bent, the forecastle and the well deck is on the actual ship, and you've got kind of the bend here. So what happened was the ship plowed into the seabed and dragged itself forward, but eventually that forward momentum ceased, and the ship basically was deeply embedded into the mud, and it caused everything here to sort of warp and bend. And you've got like a part of the ship that normally would sort of angle slightly upwards, and now you can like see just how steep of an angle it really is going down on. It's just again insane, and you can see more separation in the plates there, and some of it might just be deterioration over time, but it's just absolutely incredible. All right, just absolutely incredible. Like here's and you can sort of see in a little bit. The stuff sort of on the inside is not super well done, but you can kind of see like some of the decking there and how it's again kind of almost unrecognizable. But there you go. That's the right. That's where it bulged out. And I remember like for years hearing people, not like experts or anything, but just hearing like people seeing the image, and it's like, oh, that must be the hole from the iceberg. But it's like, no, that's pretty well above the water line there. So if the iceberg did that, number one, it would have pushed in instead of pushing it out. But yeah, that's just from the impact on the seafloor. But I might be wrong. But yes, I know it's beeping at me. It wants me to achieve objectives, but I'm not particularly interested in that. I might be wrong, but it looks like down here, this might actually be a little bit of the iceberg damage. Because what happened was, it wasn't like you kind of see images and stuff where it looks like this huge hole's been ripped open in the side of the ship, but really all that it was the plates. This might not actually be iceberg damage, but the actual plates were just pushed in enough by the impact from the iceberg that it separated, it caused some of the rivets to fail, and it opened up just these thin little seams that are only maybe a few inches. It's not like it was this huge hole that was ripped open. It's just the plates were parted just enough to let the seawater start coming in. So we're going to go a bit further down here. I mean, that might not have been iceberg damage just because it's still kind of forward there and there's still a lot of mud and stuff in the way. But again, like down here, that might be a little bit of a scrape, because again, like they weren't huge holes. They weren't anything. It was like less than, I think it was about 12 square feet total. There's a door on the port side. There's a door on the port side that was opened up, the D-deck door, and that was for lifeboats to come back and pick up more people. And that door opening itself, just by itself, was about the same size, or maybe even larger than the total amount of like area that was opened up by the iceberg. So that like doubled the amount that was open to the sea there. But here we've got this image here, and again you can just sort of get an idea of just how massive this ship is. But this is probably what Dr. Ballard first saw. Like when he did his first dive to the wreck, it was a failed dive because I think they had about 20 minutes before they had to get back to the surface because there was an issue, I think, with the battery. I think seawater got into the battery or something, and so he said all he saw was just this wall of steel. Right, so we're gonna. So again, this is probably what he saw, and if we look up, like it's just an incredible sense of scale. Now, what I actually want to do is go back to the bow of the ship here. And I'm not going to get into like technical terms because I'm not good with that stuff, to be completely and totally honest, but there's just some stuff that I want to see here because, like I said, this was always just a dream of mine. And here I am controlling, being able to go exactly where it is that I want to go on the real wreck. Like these, and like I said, the fact that this is the real wreck. There's just something insanely powerful about that. Right, let's get a little closer here. Like you can see portholes, right? And there's some that are even open, and it's likely that those were open that night because there were reports from some of the passengers, especially some of the first class passengers, that the iceberg actually hit their porthole that was open and spilled ice into their cabin. And we got the A deck and B deck promenade areas there. Again, it's just absolutely insane. There's some more railing here that looks like it's on the verge of collapsing if it hasn't already. We got some pieces of railing here that looks like it's fallen off. And, this is one of the things that when I was looking at this, there's the other little ROV there. You actually had to control two of them. I'm just going to control this one for now. Yeah, you can see all the railing pieces. The one thing that I don't see is the cargo hatch cover. So forward of the ship, and it might just be because they didn't include that part of the scans yet, but the forward cargo hatch, when the ship hit, the force of the water inside being reacting to the impact on the sea floor, basically sheared the cargo hatch cover completely off, and it went flying ahead and is. I forget how far ahead of the ship it is, but you can see like all the detail here and how it just kind of suddenly all the detail becomes very generic. So basically they're only doing the immediate area in front of the wreck, and I think it would be somewhere like out here. But even this is just absolutely insane. I never thought, I never thought in a million years that this would be something that I'd ever be able to do. Okay, I'm just going to see if I can scan this stuff just to get it off here. Oh. Again, you can kind of see, because I don't want that frame being there. Anyway. Like, just look at this shot. I'm just going to pull back just a little bit here. Just going to descend down a little bit. I mean, just look at this. It's unbelievable. In fact, I'm going to screenshot that. That might be the thumbnail. But yeah, just the detail. And again, this is like 10%. This is 10% of the scans. But you can see here on the port side, this section of railing right here that's hanging in a very precarious position. This is the one that's fallen off right here. In fact, even this part here might be off as well. And there is the main anchor there, the anchor crane, which is twisted around the wrong way. There's the the famous spot from the from the Titanic movie. If you're a fan of that, I'm not. I'm going to be honest. Especially at the time, I was not. I do respect the fact that Cameron made the movie, because he wanted an excuse to be able to explore the wreck himself. So like I do respect that. But there's so much like real drama and really incredible stories from that night that I don't think you need to make up a Romeo and Juliet story that like was literally impossible. All right, you weren't going to have a third-class passenger be welcomed into a first-class space. In fact, I think there were actually regulations that completely forbade it from happening. So anyway, I don't think we're going to be able to see the lettering on the ship here, just because again this is only 10%. Oh, okay. Let's just see if we can get. Again, if I can just get rid of this.
Very impressive.
There we go. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to see the lettering. Where it's etched onto the hull there. That might be part of the T. But I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to see the lettering just because this is only a 10% of the image there. But it's still just an incredible sight. Oh no, there's part of the T. Yeah, you can see part of the T there. It's kind of hard to, because this thing has this laser sight. But if you look underneath this rusticle right here, that looks like it's part of the T. So I'm not going to try to find any other. Then I don't know if even that's the first or second T in the name there. But yeah. Okay, let's come back here, and you can see. You can actually see like some of the where the decking was. The anchor chains there are still pretty incredible looking. And again, just look at that view. Now again, if we were to play the realistic lighting, right, like that's all we would see. Which again, it's real for what like the wreck actually looks like, but we're gonna. Oh, and I think every time I change the realism setting, it actually resets the timer here. But yeah, just look at that. So that's the cargo hatch there. That the lid just blew off and landed several meters in front of the wreck there. But I mean, just what a sight! Again, this is the real wreck. Like this is the real Titanic. This isn't something that somebody just fabricated. Which is still amazing to do, but like this is the real ship. There's one of the dedication placards from some of the previous expeditions. There's another one there. We'll see a whole bunch when we get sort of like to the bridge area here. But you can look down a little bit here, and again, that seafloor there, that's not what you would see if you were looking in. It's just the scans don't go further than that at this point in time. Now here we have what's. Oh, I wonder if where it was here. Somewhere on the forecastle, I think it was one of the little space heaters from a first class cabin actually settled on it. But I don't know exactly where. Maybe it could be in the well deck. I don't know. I thought it was on the port side of the ship, but there's some more of the railings there. That looks like the some of the cabling that held the mast in place, and you can see it sort of flopped over the side of the ship. But this is a sight that kind of makes me sad, and it's the forward mast here, because again, I started getting to the Titanic just a few years after it was discovered. You had the video footage, you had, and then the amazing Ken Marshall paintings, and with the forward mast, it was still, straight. It was pushed back, and it was angled and had fallen back, kind of up near where the bridge was, but it was, it wasn't collapsed like this. And I mean, it's just thin metal, right? Like, it's literally just some thin metal that you could actually, there was like a ladder inside, obviously, and here's where the crow's nest would have been. Right. Now, the actual crow's nest itself has fallen off. There's speculation as to whether it was knocked off by a submarine or if it just fell off due to the passage of time. And then we got the cargo cranes. And it kind of looks like I think they had cables. Yeah, they had cables there that would have been holding them up a little bit. It looks like they've kind of gone away there. But this is another part that really, again, it's kind of powerful. It's kind of heartbreaking. It's just to see the amount of degradation here, even in this forward part of the ship, because again, the images of that Ken Marshall painting, showing that being in a lot better shape than this, and you just kind of see how much the ship has degraded. It's there was a documentary that I saw. You can actually see like some of the windows smashed out here. Some are still intact. But there was this, documentary. I forget which one it was. It might have even been the 20 years after the James Cameron one there. But it was an interview with Ken Marshall, and the thing that he had said is because he was under the impression, and a lot of people were, and you have to remember that because that's the way that it was officially the official story for over 70 years, was that the ship sank in one piece. And he said that when the ship was discovered and it was broken into multiple pieces, he said, like, my ship is gone. And when I look at this and just see how collapsed this was, because when it was discovered, like, all of this was fully intact still. This wasn't collapsing or completely fallen down. Like, the ship looked proud and majestic, and when it was first discovered, and now it's breaking down, and it's hard to explain just how somber, I guess, that kind of makes a person feel. But it's really unfortunate. But here we got the I think it's the telemotor, and we got all those other dedication plaques there, and you can definitely tell that there is lettering. Oops. But again, the resolution is not high enough that I think we'd be able to fully read it, right? Like, as you get closer, it starts to blur. But it would be cool if they do, like, I don't think they're going to go full 100% resolution, but even if they went like 20% or like 25%, you might actually be able to read what's on there. So now we're going to come over to, we got the davit here. One of the davits is just, caught up in some of the cabling that again would have been used to secure either the forward funnel or the mast there. And again, there's so much of the mast that's just broken and slumped and missing. Part of it was made out of wood, so like the wood part would have been, eaten away. But man, it's just, I don't know. It's hard. It's kind of hard to look at this. It's awe-inspiring. It really is. So there's the lifeboat davit there. So this is on the port side, and here. So this would have been like where Captain Smith's quarters were, and there were always those famous, images of, Captain Smith's bathtub, and all that, and it's gone. But there is, and I don't know which one of these it was, but there was that famous image of Jason Jr. I think it's actually this one here, of Jason Jr. when they did the 86 dives, like right up against the window, kind of using its cameras to peer inside. But again, just look how it's starting to sag. And if we go up top here, and again, you can actually see like where the planking would have been. And there's here's the remnants of the number one funnel. So there's like the outer shell, looks like part of it, or at least the housing around it. This is sort of like the inner part of the funnel. And again, you wouldn't see the sea floor down there, but another one of the lifeboat davits, although I think that one's actually swung out. So that's from having lowered its last lifeboat. But yeah, man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. And then here's the expansion joint, which should only be, maybe a couple of inches at most, and here it's open by probably feet. And I think the Marconi room is in this, underneath this here, because you can see where the ceiling or the floor or the decking, whatever you want to call it, is just disintegrating away. And again, it's most likely that was from submarines landing on the deck. And when they did that, it would have exposed, like kind of, pushed away some of the, the rust or some of the other stuff that had built up on there, and exposed the steel and stuff beneath it. And you can just see it's just eating away in holes and holes. And, like I said, my ship is gone. Like the regal, majestic, bow section that I remember from my childhood is just, it's going away. Here's the first class grand staircase here, the forward staircase. And again, you can kind of see some of the decks below there. But just absolute devastation. Alright, because you can tell that this was like part of the, superstructure that's just going away, it's just disintegrating. Right? There was more to that, and then it just completely drops off. But if we come back out here, that's the A deck, A deck, and that's the partially enclosed. I guess not really a promenade deck, because there would have been stuff there, right? So this is, a change that was made to the Titanic and the Britannic, but never was updated on the Olympic. But that's the A deck there, and it's just completely collapsed. It's sitting on top of, you know, on B deck there. It's, I don't know. It's, again, it's kind of overwhelming, but this is an incredible experience. Like, if you've been interested in this at all, like if you follow Titanic at all, this Magellan virtual ROV simulator is just incredible. And you can see like just how much the ship has collapsed here. Like, it's buckling outwards, and it's falling back in on itself over here, which it never was before. It was pretty, it was, again, in that painting, it was upright right up until just past the second funnel, and then it dropped off a lot more, like almost sheer, like a sheer drop. And here you can see that it's a lot more gradual now, because I think the second funnel, yeah, that's the second funnel there, and it just completely drops off now. Like, it used to go and then angle down, but now it's just like, it's just a mess, and it's completely collapsed. So we're gonna see the famous boilers there. And so again, like, they do add video game elements. Like, you are supposed to like scan different locations, like the grand staircase window, and yeah, I know. But we can still go a little bit further here. You can also kind of get a sense of like how it impacted and sort of like continued to plow forward there. But like, just look at this. So here are the boilers right here. And you can see just how collapsed everything is, because there used to be a lot more separation in the decks, right? But just a huge amount of degradation here. And the last thing I kind of want to look at in this video, and if they do like stuff for the just twisted wreckage there, there's the famous boilers. There should be updates for this. Since, like I said, this is early access, but I'm sure, like, I'm hoping the stern section releases soon. But I mean, just like, again, you can just see how collapsed this is now. It's incredible. It's just incredible. Okay, let's not hit the side of the ship here. But we're going to look for that D-deck door, which the door used to be on the hinges still. Although I think it fell off, and if I recall, I think the door was actually salvaged, but I could be wrong on that. So that might be it right there. And I know it looks like it's pretty far up on the ship, because, it's D-deck, right? Like A, B, C, and then D there. But this door would have been opened, or it was believed to have been opened the night of as the ship was sinking, in that the lifeboats that had been launched were ordered to turn around and go up to the D-deck door and accept passengers. But I mean, none of the lifeboats ever did. They never went back. and the crewmates, the crew members that were sent to open the D deck door, they were never seen again afterwards. So not quite sure what happened. They, maybe they just opened up the door and jumped into the ocean and tried to swim for a lifeboat, or I mean, who knows? But just, just incredible, just an incredible thing, an amazing, amazing opportunity that this presents. And again, like just how degraded this promenade section is, just incredible. Just absolutely incredible. So, anyway, I guess that's the vROV Titanic. Again, like there are objectives to scan things like this lifeboat davit is one of them. But truthfully, I'm just more interested in just using this to explore the wreck itself, because like I said, that was always a lifelong goal. That was one of those things that if it could have been done safely, I 100% would have saved up money over a lifetime to try to see it in person. But that's obviously not going to happen. But this is really the next best thing, because this is legitimately the wreck. This isn't a 3D model that was designed by a human being. This is the real wreck as it was in 2022 or 2023. So it's not obviously completely up to date, but it's the real thing, and it's amazing. Like, it's just an amazing thing to to look at this and to see this, and like to know like this is the real thing. Like, this is the actual real wreck of the Titanic. So anyway, if you're interested in ships, if you're interested in the story of the Titanic, if you ever wanted to take a look at the wreck, up close, then you can get this on Steam. It's just vROV Titanic. This is done by Magellan, the company that did the scans. And I'm really looking forward to, the future updates where we get the stern. And I think there was talks of doing the debris field too. So you can actually journey between the bow and the stern. I do hope, because like there is a time limit, on this right now in the early access. I do kind of hope that if they if they do the debris field and all the way up to the stern there, I do hope that they allow just like a free roaming mode, right, where there's no time limit and you can just really, really take your time and really take it all in. I think going through the debris field, if it becomes available, is going to be probably one of the most like sobering things, because you're going to come across those pairs of boots that are laying there, and like with the knowledge that those pairs of boots used to be human beings. There's just something about that. But anyway, this is vROV Titanic, available on Steam from Magellan, using the actual scans of the real ship as it was just a couple of years ago. And I'm really looking forward to more updates. Anyway, thank you guys so very much for your time. I know this isn't my normal thing, but I hope you check this out, and I hope you check out the actual I don't want to call it a game, but the experience over on Steam. So thank you again for all your time, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.